guys, we're back. It's another episode of the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast. And on today's episode, of course, got another real estate investor. And this guy's killing it out there, always doing some cool stuff outdoor-wise. Love seeing it. And I'd like to welcome you guys. Chad, how's it going, man? Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you having me on.
So tell us a little about yourself. You're obviously a younger guy. Where do you live? How old are you? What are you doing? And we'll go from there.
For sure. Yeah, I'm 25 years old and I live in Denver, Colorado. I grew up in Michigan, a little bit north of Detroit. Went to college in the UP, and I just came out to Colorado on a ski trip once, and it just kept bringing me back over and over again. So now I live here.
Awesome. That's badass. So you're 25, you went to college. How long did it take you to leave college and go into real estate, and why'd you choose real estate?
Yeah. So pretty much I had graduated college, packed up, moved here within a week or two. Yeah, straight out. And then, the funny thing is I often get asked, well, did you move? Because a lot of people know that Denver has a really hot real estate market. And they do, but it's a really, really hot seller's market, not a hot buyer's market. Right. And not a hot C-class commercial multifamily market, let alone for syndications. So I don't do any real estate deals here in Denver, and it had none of the, reasoning behind me actually coming here. But the story behind that, I lived here for about 4 days, and like you said, I love biking, mountain biking, dirt jumps, and all that stuff. So I was just going to everywhere I could, and I met a young guy. He was putting his bike away in his car. I was pulling mine out. And the truth is, I just wanted to make a new friend. I just wanted somebody to ride with. So I said, hey, man, that's a sweet looking bike. We should ride sometime. And we get to, kind of shooting the shit and small talk. And, what do you do? Oh, I'm going to do in real estate. I said, no way, man. I've been wanting to get in real estate for a little while. I have no idea what I don't know. And he says, okay, well, come to our meetup group and you can meet my partner and learn a little bit about what we do. And we can go from there. I said, okay, cool. So I went to that meetup group. I met my partner who I work very, very close with now, Adam Adams, at that group. And now, he says, yeah, well, we could probably use your help. Okay, cool. And so he had me, it's kind of a funny story. He had me just making cold calls to brokers. That's all I was doing. And you'll see here when you hear more of our business model, why it wasn't working. But I would get off these phones with these guys and I thought, man, I'm going to have some awesome deals. I'm going to make so much money this year. That's going to be incredible. And actually the opposite happens. If people would even send me a deal in the first place, it didn't even meet my most basic criteria. So we buy a very specific asset class, 100 plus unit C-class multifamily, light value add, light reposition assets. And I was getting sent empty pieces of land, single family deals, new development builds, and just stuff that made absolutely no sense. So I went back to Adam. I said, man, this sucks. This doesn't work. I don't want to do this. What if I could help position you, this company, and myself through intent-based branding and marketing so that, deals and then money comes to us instead of us making calls. So that's kind of the story. And so now within that company, I'm actually a partner, and I run all of our systems, all of our lead gen, all of our marketing, all of our branding. So that was kind of my step into real estate, and which has led me to right now I'm a partner on about 160 units. My first deal was an 83 unit in Branson, Missouri, and we got a closing of 152 units in about 7 days from today. So It happened very, very quickly.
And how long ago was that?
That was a little less than 2 years ago when I got started.
It's awesome. So, happenstance, just out there doing what you love doing.
Yeah.
Ran across a stranger, and it couldn't have been more perfect of a situation for you. It's awesome.
Yeah. Like with anything, right? Like you got to put yourself out there, Yeah. That's all it was. And it paid off, I guess.
Oh, yeah. So that's pretty interesting because you talk to most indicators, they'll say it's all about your network, and it is. But you were a little bit different because a lot of them will say it's those relationships with the brokers, and I still believe it is. But it's funny that you were making those phone calls and they're like just giving you garbage.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the time I was making those calls, it was my first deal, and I couldn't speak as confidently about real estate as I can now, and I think that came through those phone calls, so that wasn't working for me,
Correct.
or it was working against me, and I still do have a lot of really, really strong relationships with brokers that do bring me deals. I just went about executing on those relationships a lot differently than I did prior to.
Yeah.
So it completely changed the game by going from making cold calls to making warm calls and pre-framing that context so that I'm not just some random guy calling you up out of the blue. You're expecting my phone call kind of thing. So
well, that's awesome. I mean, and then you turn it into a branding deal which I think is super powerful, especially in the 21st century of so many opportunities with all the social platforms. What do you feel, aside from your pretty frequent Facebook post, what platform and what strategy, if there is a strategy, have you used other than just attack with it?
Yeah, for sure. So my partner has a podcast that he's the host of. I help support him and manage all his outsourcing and all that good stuff. So that's one thing. We have a lot of meetup groups here locally that have helped us raise a lot of money and have, just equity ready to go. And what's really cool about that is that brand is starting to precede ourselves. And now people are starting to see, well, these guys control a lot of private equity. It's pretty easy for them to close a deal. So now we have operators who don't control a lot of private equity bringing us deals. And so this deal that I got 152 units that we're closing 7 days from now, we're not operating it, right? We didn't find the deal. We didn't source the commercial lending. We didn't put the property manager in place. We did none of that, but we are raising private capital for it. And we're going to get a GP stake on that deal that actually makes sense for us.
Yeah.
And then the same exact story holds true with the 62 unit deal I did in Big Spring, Texas. Another operating group just, needed someone to help them close the deal.
Right.
So having that position of closing or being able to close because you control the money has been awesome. And that's been created through our meetup groups. We host a lot of events and Instagram, we do a lot on Instagram, paid advertising. So, and then honestly, my bread and butter strategy for social media marketing is just working the DMs on LinkedIn. Since my favorite thing about LinkedIn is it has that pre-frame context of business, right? Like people go on there because they know that they're going to do something business-like. So when you hit them with something about business in their inbox, it doesn't throw them off guard. It's expected. They're pre-framed for it. So all I do is get very targeted with who I'm connecting with on LinkedIn and how I connect with them. So for you, and I'll give the audience a quick example. Our market is OKC. Like we are really, really hot on OKC right now. So I probably started this campaign maybe about 3 months ago, and it's ended since. But so I go on LinkedIn. I go to the LinkedIn general search page. I start to filter down my search results, right? Like I only want to be connecting with people in OKC. I only want to be connecting with people that have multifamily in their title and maybe agent or broker or investor or wholesaler or something of the like, right? And now I'm going to go in and send them a personalized friend request. And here's where most people go incredibly wrong is they wind up spamming their inbox and saying, I'm so-and-so, I'm doing this, check out my website. This is awesome. You should close a deal with me, right? It's just spammy. Nobody responds to that kind of stuff. So I do the opposite. I lead with a compliment and said, hey, so-and-so, looks like you're doing really big things in real estate. I just wanted to reach out and connect. And since my LinkedIn profile is, pretty optimized and strong, they don't need to know I'm in multifamily because they're going to go look and find out really quickly. And that's what they do. And so that's brought me a massive amount of quality deal flow because it's focused in my specific market. And the quickest and soonest call to action from that outreach through messaging is to get on a phone call. And then just keep following up with the broker, I typically, if any of my brokers send me a deal, I thank them even if it doesn't work, even if it didn't work from the very beginning, I thank them to the high heavens, and probably maybe once every 2 quarters, I'll send them a gift card to a restaurant in their area or something like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, especially with commercial multifamily, your deal flow, your quality deal flow is a lot thinner. And so you need to do whatever you possibly can for your brokers to absolutely love you, so that you're the one, the first, you got to be the first top 3 people to get that deal that they got.
Yeah.
You want to do everything in your power to be that person. So it's worked a lot better than cold calling.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would say that's true across probably all entrepreneurial platforms. It doesn't matter what you're doing: real estate, single family, multifamily, auto detailing, tech company. It's all about the brand, and a brand can make or kill you, really. And that's surprising. Actually, I didn't know you were working with Adam, because I've been on his podcast and he's been on mine as well. And he's very proud of his meetup groups. He says one of the fastest growing meetup groups in the country, he was saying, I thought. And it's pretty cool. I mean, I've thought about starting one. I got a little baby one that I started, and it has since died, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, like, again, social branding is extremely powerful. So let's dive into, well, I know your business because I've talked to Adam, and I know syndication, but for the people that don't, let's say, I mean, a lot of people know that, buying single family rentals is a way to create wealth and generational wealth and passive income and, retirement. And then once people get into single family, which is typically that first barrier to entry, they start thinking, whoa, real estate's awesome. Maybe I should look into commercial or multifamily. And then you're like, oh, multifamily is so expensive. How do I fund that? And you guys do what's called syndication. So you're raising funds through an FEC FEC compliant, or SEC, sorry. I'm thinking FFA or FAA with my flying school right now. So SEC compliant regulation fund. And which one do you do? Was it the 301C or whatever it is?
Yeah. So we've done both. And we're working on a third. So there's a 506B, SEC Reg D 506B.
Yeah.
And for the people who are listening that, might want to get into syndication, this is a really important thing to remember, because if you can't adequately talk about this stuff with your investors, they're probably not going to have a lot of confidence in investing with you.
Right.
So 506B, I use the mnemonic, B is for your buddy. Okay. So when you're structuring your deal as a 506B, you can only raise private capital from people that you have a standing relationship with.
Right.
Now the SEC hasn't clearly defined what that relationship is, but a soft rule of thumb that our SEC attorneys have given us is having at least 3 encounters, at least 3 meaningful, real conversations with somebody at the very minimum.
Right.
And then building that relationship further to invest into your deal. Now, SEC Reg D 506C, I use C for accredited. With the 506C deal structure, you can publicly and generally solicit your deal. So you'll probably see us posting on Facebook about our deal that we're closing. But so there, you can generally solicit, but you can only take in qualified investors into that offering. And there is a pre-qualification stage where they actually do have to prove that they are in fact a registered accredited investor. So, yeah. And then the third one would be a Reg A fund, which allows you to take, funds from accredited. It allows you to take funds from friends and family. I'm not really an expert on that fund yet because I don't have one, but our last meeting, we had decided that we do want to work towards structuring one. The thing is, with one of those, you're $100,000 into attorney fees just straight off the bat.
Yeah. Yes, I've heard. Crazy expensive. Yeah.
They're real expensive. So we're working towards that. And we will have one eventually, but basically it just allows a lot more smaller investors in. People can start investing $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 instead of having your $50,000, $70,000 and $100,000 minimums, which we've been doing on our last deals. So,
right. It's like the Kickstarter for apartments.
Exactly.
Yeah, small crowdfunding platforms.
Exactly.
So the 100,000 roughly in attorney fee entries is why you guys have steered clear of that from now and have done Reg D 506B primarily.
Primarily because, I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, we're still new, right? Like, my partners have been in real estate much, much longer than I, and they're the ones who gave me all their real estate knowledge. But I mean, like I said, after this deal closes, we're only at 100, or we're only at 300 units, like, for 2 years in. It's not like, we have, 10 deals that we need to close this year and we need to be raising money like crazy. We have a surplus of private capital right now. So it's just not necessarily needed to get the deals done yet.
Right. No, but that's great. I mean, 300 units in 2 years is phenomenal. I mean, most people spend a good portion of a lifelong careers building that type of platform or portfolio. So, I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment. So you're in Denver, Adam's in Denver, and Oklahoma City's a target. Obviously, you spoke on it a little bit on why you did that, because Denver's a little overpriced, maybe a little bit saturated with other investors buying the C-class properties that you guys are looking into. I see a lot, even in single family, is, I need to buy within my backyard so I can drive to it. But is there a method to the madness? Why you chose Oklahoma City, or you're just like, well, it doesn't make sense in my backyard, so I found a deal here, let's just figure it out? Or was there like some researching beforehand on Oklahoma's the way I want to go?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Our deals haven't made sense here in our backyard for 5, 6, 7 years now. I mean, you can find them, but with our business model, our investors are seasoned to 18, 19% annualized returns quarter over quarter. And so if we try and bring them a deal, and it's not going to pay out for the next 7 years, and then maybe 7 years down the line on the back end, you might get 25% annualized. It's not going to happen, right? It doesn't work for our business model. It's not ever going to work for our business model, and our investors would never go for anything like that. So, but to answer the second part of the question, we had started getting deal flow in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, Oklahoma. And during that due diligence phase, we're really diving super deep into the metrics of the actual MSA that we're looking to do a deal in. And so we're looking at pretty basic stuff, just like, net migration, job diversity, and job income, medium household income, different things of that nature, economical metrics per se, to see whether or not where this city is going to go in the next 5, 6 years. And we started to really like what we see. We started to see all the, different developments coming in, the different big companies coming in, the net migration made sense, the job diversity made sense, so on and so forth. All right, this is going to be our market. And so prior to that, it was actually quite the opposite. I had 4 markets. My partner had 4 markets that he was like, kind of the deal acquisitions guy. He was filtering all the deals before it got to our underwriter. I was doing the same in my 4 markets. And it just wasn't really getting us the great results that we wanted, because when you're scattered across 8 different markets, you're not really an expert in any one of them. You're not top of mind for any broker ever, anywhere, when you're scattered across 8 markets.
Right.
So we made a very strategic decision that we're going all in to one market, because we need to be the expert in that market, not only to our investors, but as well to our brokers, that we need to be the players, right? So, and that decision has, really brought us a lot more momentum than it would have if we hadn't.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
So,
You see it in all businesses, but especially in multifamily, when you're dealing with, several $1 million in one property, you want to make sure that you know that market well, and more importantly, that you continue getting deals in that market. And you can't, like you said, 8 markets, you're not going to be top of mind. I mean, especially like even in DFW where I'm at. DFW is massive. I think, 5 million people or more in DFW. But you can't you can't know all of that. You got to pick areas. And a lot of my buddies that have been in real estate, one buddy in particular, Yale, when his first few years, he was all over and he can't manage that. And so he picked, 2 zip codes, and that's where he's at. And that's when he was really able to define his business and really excel, because he wasn't running to 12 properties across, 100-mile radius. He was going to 2 zip codes every single day, which excelled his business, and which it seems like is doing the exact same thing, and it's perfect for you guys as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I get that a lot, that a lot of people think, well, if you live halfway across the country from your property, how do you manage something like that? And at the end of the day, like, we're not property managers, right? Mm-hmm. We're asset managers. We're asset operators. We put a qualified and experienced property manager on every asset that we own, and we would never do it any other way.
Right.
And so that changes your hour drive or your 2-hour flight into a 20-minute phone call.
Yep.
So.
Do you guys ever go out to them? Do you, once LOI or contracts accepted, do you go out and put eyes on it yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. After it goes under contract, we do. And then maybe once a year after that. That's not my role in the company.
Right.
One of my partners does that, thankfully. So yeah.
Yeah. So in the beginning, you said light rehab, light repositioning. Obviously, you've chosen that for a reason. I know a guy, Tim Bratz, I'm sure you've heard of him. He likes big rehabs. What's the reason behind the small rehabs for you guys?
Just where our level of experience is. Mm-hmm. We just got to be honest and true to ourselves and our investors and what makes sense to do.
Right.
We haven't done a major rehab. We haven't even partnered GP on a major rehab and just raised money for the deal either. Right. Yeah. So we just kind of are staying in our lane and sticking with what we know and what we've proven to ourselves and our investors that we're capable of, which is just light repositioning, raise the rents, put a new property manager in place, update some amenities and update the parking lot. We're not taking down walls or doing anything too crazy.
Right.
And before, we would look at deals that didn't need major rehab, and we thought we would go through them and go through due diligence and get an LOI accepted on them. But then we get through our due diligence and say, man, this thing's a beast. Do we really want to be taking this down right now? Do we really want to do this? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
It's just not something that we do. And then, so obviously the contrary is Tim Bratz has a lot more meat on his deals because he is willing to do that stuff,
Right. Yeah. So, for those that don't know, repositioning means, taking let's say a D class, really run down, playground's overgrown, parking lot shit. There's no covered parking. Maybe the laundry facility's gone to shit, and you'll take those or not take those and take a $1 million property and turn it into a $3 million property by fixing and repositioning that. As part of your repositioning, do you? You mentioned the parking lots. Do you add laundry facilities or add covered parking to raise your income on those?
We haven't to anything we've done yet, just because the deal hasn't called for it. Mm-hmm. But I can give you an example of one thing that we did do in our 83-unit property in Branson. It was a lot of older people throughout the entire property. I mean, there might have been 1 or 2 young, couples living there. Everyone else was kind of, getting to that senior age.
Yeah.
And so our property manager had been there for the last 15 years, right? So she knew everyone by name.
Yep.
And so then we started to, I guess the way I would explain it would be kind of a very, very light assisted living. And so now we have extra amenities and different events and different things going on that our property manager puts in place. So we did a 4th of July barbecue for them.
Yeah.
She does little things for Halloween and just, basically is really, really there to help out these older residents.
Yeah.
And so it makes it much, much easier for us to turn our leases as rents increase and get those leases re-signed.
Yeah.
So we added some really, really light plays there. So something like that would be.
I would say it's a good move across any apartment complex. So like little mini cities or ecosystems where if the tenants aren't jiving and they don't want to necessarily be there, you're going to have high turnover. So why not improve the playgrounds? Why not have the little parties and spend $200 on burgers or something and really improve the environment, because then they'll want to stay. So it's a great move. I mean, I've heard a lot of syndicators talk about that, because it's pretty important. I mean, you don't want to have high turnover, obviously, but
it's expensive. So, I mean, that culture, even if that culture can turn your turnover rates down by 15%, 20%, it's probably going to pay itself off pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, it's massive. Yeah, it's huge. Little personal question of mine that I was thinking about the other day. So you buy, I assume all of your properties are in one parcel. Would it be harder to raise money for multiple units that are, let's say, in one city, but not all next to each other? Is it hard to pull something like that together, like a one fund raise for multiple properties in the same city, or does that become a pretty big nightmare?
Multiple properties and one fund in one city.
Yeah, well, because the reason I'm asking is I'm in single family and I'm slowly merging into commercial, and I haven't fully decided if I want to go into storage, which is what I'm leaning towards. But I have done some prospecting in the multifamily world, and I ran across a guy that says, yeah, perfect, I'm looking to sell. You call me perfect time. Give me a ring in about 2 months, and I'm coming up on that 2 months. But he listed off about 6 addresses that add up to about 94 units, I think, all in the same city. Almost all of them are within the same, 6 blocks, but they're not near each other.
Sure.
And so they all have different addresses, different parcel IDs, obviously. So would that be a hassle? Like, obviously I can't take it down. I don't have the knowledge. I need to find the right syndicator to pull that off. Is that something that's easy, streamlined? Can I go to any syndicator, or I got to look for a specific guy?
I'd look for a specific guy, primarily because when you get into that multiple property structuring, like, and I'm only speaking from my experience, like our SEC drafts are private placement memorandums, the actual document that a passive investor signs when they're putting equity into a deal. It's only for one property. Like, we have never done a PPM for multiple properties.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that line looks like. But I think something like that, depending on what the purchase price is, if you could find, 2, 3, 4 JV money guys, you'd avoid a huge headache with the SEC, draftings.
Right. So, 4 total investors, not a syndication.
Yeah. If you can keep your money partners much, much more smaller, like Tim does, and have maybe two money JV partners into your portfolio, that logistical process would be much, much more easy.
Yeah, for sure. No, that sounds about right. I had a question, but I lost it. Of course, I'm scatterbrained big time. Let's talk about, so you've been here 2 years. You've got 152 units, 32 units, something like that. And you've started creating freedom for yourself. And I'm being selfish because I love the outdoors. And so I'm just curious, what do you spend your time with, and what part of your business has, like, where am I going? So how did you structure your business to be able to allow yourself enough time? Because I feel like you're always out there snowmobiling or dirt biking or something. So you've obviously structured your business the way that you have that freedom. What are those things that you put in place system-wise that you're able to allot yourself so much time?
For sure. I think number one is just VAs. It's always working on the business and trying not to work in it as much.
Yeah.
So any low level stuff I have, it gets outsourced to a VA, editing podcasts, editing videos, different graphics, so on and so forth. That all gets taken care of. We have an admin in our office that handles a lot of the day-to-day stuff that I just, quite frankly, don't, I need to know what I need to know, and I don't need to know anything else.
Right.
So she filters a lot of stuff that comes into the company for us, which is fantastic, and handles a lot of that. And then I have another thing that saved me a huge amount of time was setting up a really nice Calendly link for,
Mm-hmm.
people to meet with me, do that good stuff. And then I have a VA going through my inbox for an hour and a half a day. And she just sends my Calendly link to the right people at the right time, gets them documents that they need, gets them whatever they need. So she goes through my Instagram DMs, she goes through my LinkedIn DMs, and she goes through my Facebook Messenger, and just takes care of all the stuff that I don't want to deal with. And it just takes me time. All right, where did I put that link? I don't, that helps me a lot. And then the other thing too, I'd say within our company, there's 6 of us active partners.
Mm-hmm.
And so I only do what I'm really, really good at. I don't do anything else. I don't try and underwrite deals. I'm not the one going back and forth with brokers. I'm not the one going back and forth with lenders, so on and so forth. I just only do what I'm really good at. And so that makes what I do really, really easy for me. And so I can just structure my day out. And I used to write down a calendar, but the trouble was I was finding is it made it too easy for me to push things off to another day. Yeah. So I have a black book that just has my top 5, top 6 most important things I need to get done, whether it be that day, that week, that month. But I just have them on my list and I cross them off one at a time. Mm-hmm. And that just, I find myself, I get my work done within the first 48 hours of the week, half the time, right. What it feels like. And then, obviously stuff comes up and whatnot, but I get, whatever those 5 things are, those are the most pressing things I need to get done to move my business to the next level. If I get those 5 things done and I don't do anything else for the rest of the week, which doesn't happen, but it's still a successful week. Yeah. So that's helped me out a lot. And then I would say the last thing with being able to spend a lot of time pursuing my passions and my hobbies. Just a quick story. Probably about 2 months ago, I was riding dirt bikes. I was by myself out in the trails, and these 2 guys were at the trailhead, and they came up to me and said, "Hey, man, do you know this area? Where should we go ride? We're on a road trip. We've never been here before." I said, "Follow me, man. I'll take you guys on my favorite ride. Let's go." Mm-hmm. And they're in a brand new $70,000 Mercedes Sprinter diesel van, all decked out. They got their brand new KTMs, $9,000 dirt bikes. Yeah. Okay, these guys probably got some money. And I didn't really say much about nothing. We're just having a good ride, high-fiving at the end of the trail. And, we get done riding. We add each other on Facebook, and we hadn't talked since for 2 months. Mm-hmm. And I made a post on my Facebook that said something, main focus of 2019 is acquiring another 100 million of real estate. Yeah. I get a message from John in a group chat with his buddy, who's my friend now too. In a group chat on Facebook, it says, "Chad, John and I have 100 grand each. We need a spot in your next deal." So going dirt biking on one trail ride and, being nice and welcoming and inviting people out has brought $200,000 into a deal that I'm closing next week. Yeah. Right. So I can convert my passions and my hobbies into an ROI in my business just by doing my things,
It's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool. Yeah. I haven't done much dirt biking. And I do mostly mountain biking up in Canada, and I'll go out to Colorado and stuff. But that's one of the cool things about flying is typically flying is a little more expensive to get into. And I'm super excited to not only meet a lot of other pilots, just to have more pilot friends, but over time, these planes aren't cheap, and they've acquired some decent amount of wealth. So it'd be really cool to fly into some masterminds in my own plane and meet other people with planes, and create business and more friendship. It's one of the things I'm excited about.
Absolutely. No, and honestly, it's one of the most powerful things. Just for that one story, I've got another 3 of the same and it's a cool thing to do. And so what's really cool is now when that money gets funded over to our LLC where we're closing the deal in, and my partners see, holy, he actually did raise 200 grand on the trails. Mm-hmm. Now, next time when I call Adam and say, "Hey man, I'm not going to be there next week. I'm going dirt biking with some guys." He's like, "Good stuff, man. Go have fun." You know what I mean? It doesn't matter because the results are there. So
yeah. Well, it's also a testament to, building that relationship on a personal level before going into the business, and makes that relationship stronger too. So, they're obviously more willing to go into a business transaction if they know you on the personal level, especially if you're dudes out and on the trail riding dirt bikes. It'll make it easier to raise the money. That's awesome, man.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, I don't like keeping people more than an hour and we're getting up next to it. Typically there's two questions I'll ask everybody, and one, I noticed you're out on dirt bikes, mountain biking, snowboarding, all that stuff. Do you have any interest in exotic cars, and what would that car be? Or it doesn't have to be even exotic or new. It could be old, but because I'm a big car guy, what's the dream?
Yeah, for sure. No, I've been a car guy my entire life. I used to build them in my parents' garage.
Really?
Yeah. So my favorite build I've ever done was a Audi B5 S4 twin turbo V6. I did a full build on it with methanol injection and all that good stuff, and that thing was running like high nines. It was a beast. But I would say right now, so like I just tipped that point where my cash flow from my real estate covers my living expenses, which are super, super low. Mm-hmm. So right now I'm driving a Volkswagen diesel, which I absolutely love. It's 2005. And so I don't care how much money I make, I'm going to always have a Volkswagen diesel. It doesn't matter how much money I make. And that car would get fully done with a bigger turbo and an all-wheel drive swap. And then for a toy car to have fun on the mountains on the weekends, I'd probably maybe get like an older 240 SX with a 1JZ in it, maybe a Mark III Supra with a 1JZ in it, something like that. Yeah, I like the rear wheel drive Jap cars. So
man,
yeah,
I missed out on the 240 way back in my younger days. I built this Civic hatchback with B18 motor, and I was a little ricer back in the day. But this guy said, I got this 240. It wasn't modded, but it was a manual, and I was super excited about it. So I sold my Civic to go buy this dude's 240, because he'd even taken me a test drive. And he was doing donuts and drifting, and I'm like 19, 20 years old. I'm like, yeah, this is sick. And so I sold the Civic, and I went to go call him the next day. He's like, dude, I already sold it. I'm like, you mother. I couldn't. I was so pissed off. But 240 has always been pretty cool. Same deal, real world drive, fun cars.
Yeah.
This will always been my deal.
Yeah. I could see myself in one of those, or maybe like an R32 imported right-hand drive GTR, maybe something like that.
Dude, there's one of those show up to my daughter's school every afternoon when we pick her up.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're cool, man. I'm not a big new car guy, to be honest. I drive a lot of new cars. And I don't really like them that much. Like, all my buddies, they got, 2018, 2019s, and they're just not, they don't have the driver car feel anymore. They've taken a lot of that out of it. So,
I understand that one. Okay. So last question. If you had 6 months to live, what would you do with it?
Probably travel, I'd probably do exactly what I'm doing in May. I'm going on a road trip in May, from here out to California and everywhere in between with my dirt bikes and my mountain bikes, and going surfing, going biking and all that good stuff, and speaking at some real estate events. So I like road tripping. I'm not really a huge destination guy with, going to Europe and going to all these places, because when I go on vacation, if I'm not riding dirt bikes or if I'm not riding mountain bikes, I'm probably not having the most fun. I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a big partier. So if I don't do those things while I'm on vacation, it's not much of a vacation for me. So that's why I like road tripping, so I can bring everything with me.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I would do. It's my favorite trip.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going down to Peru in July to do a 1,200 mile enduro trip through the Andes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I did it last July. We're going to go back, and we're going out there to visit an orphanage before, but it's 9 days in the Andes, going through all the remote towns and the mountains.
Wow.
And, yeah, we're going up to is it 16 or 18,000 feet for a couple of hours. So it gets pretty cold, but it's an awesome trip.
And the highest I've ever ridden a dirt bike up to is about 14,300.
Yeah.
14,300 feet of vertical. And man, it gets hard to breathe, and your bikes get hard to breathe too.
Right.
I can't imagine what 16K is going to feel like. That's impressive.
Yeah. It was fun. I mean, I don't remember having too many issues with oxygen levels, but I remember I had heated gloves on, heated jacket, and I was still shivering like crazy. I was freezing. But once we peaked that crest, there was a section there, probably about 20 miles, where we could see this volcano on our left side for a long time. So it was pretty sweet. It was awesome.
Yeah. And when you say enduro, do you mean dirt bike enduro?
Yeah.
Or mountain bike? Yeah. Okay. I thought so.
Yeah. Motorcycle. Yeah. So we'll carry enough clothes and equipment for about 3 days. We stop every night at some sort of hostel or something. But yeah, we'll carry just enough to keep us on to the next place, and we'll do anywhere between like 3 and 6 hours of riding a day. And
wow.
Pretty sweet.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you coming on. What is the best place or contact information for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'd probably say Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's just Chad Wittfeldt on all of them. Same with Instagram, just at Chad Wittfeldt. You can find me there. Put out pretty much daily content on every platform. So if you're interested in syndications, or marketing and branding, things of that nature, definitely come check me out.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah. I saw your post this morning about this, the first of the month, time for rents to come in.
Love it, man. I used to hate the first of the month, and then that changed, and it's a good change, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely. So. Well, cool, man. Appreciate it. I'll tag all your information down below once we get this posted next week. All right.
All right. Thanks, Brandon.
Cool. Later.
Cheers.